refugees and immigrants have contributed more than $13 billion in less than 10 years. $13 billion into the state economy. So what does that tell you? That refugees and immigrants are not only coming to sit down and extend their hands for free food and stuff like that. No, they're coming over for so many talents, and they're putting those talents to use. In Philadelphia, there's an economic corridor called Woodland Avenue and Emerald Avenue. Almost 85, I can say 80 to 85% of all the vendors or the businesses over there are owned by former refugees and immigrants. Okay, and they're employing local residents. They're all benefiting.
Honorable Sackor, thank you very much for being on Popular Opinion today. We are really excited to have you, and it's an honor that you've taken, despite all of your busy schedule, you take some time out to be our guest on this platform. And we are going to be discussing about refugee integration, your experience as a global advocate for refugees in the United States of America, as well as your participation in the recent political activities in the United States. We're going to be talking about all of these issues. So first, I want us to go to start this show with the audience would like to know who is Mr. Sackor and what really inspired you to get involved into what you're doing for the marginalized community, especially what has to do with refugees.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Sharif. Indeed, it is a great honor to be on your show, or like you said. And let me first of all express my profound thanks and appreciation for your patience and your passion for doing what you're doing. As you said, my name is Joe Sackor, originally from Liberia, born and raised in Liberia. I was born in Banima County, it's Liberia as well. I later sought refuge during the civil war in Liberia back in the 90s. I sought refuge in Guinea, where I worked with the United Nations program, the youth program, or for African Muslim Agency. Later moved to Danane, where I served as a refugee repatriation assistant with UNHCR sub-office in Danane. I got a promotion to be the social services, regional social services assistant in Jiglo, that covers Jiglo, Tabome, Ma, Tulukle, Bloloken, and all the places. Later migrated to the United States in the late 90s. Since then, I've been here. Having migrated to the United States as a former refugee from Liberia, I saw the plights of refugees, and I work with the United Nations, UNHCR, and I know what entails to be a refugee. Okay, the United States have been a global leader in resettling refugees. Back in the 1980s, when the legislation was passed, I saw the need that as a citizen of the United States, I should do more to advocate for those marginalized population. By giving them a second chance to come and rebuild their lives and contribute to the society that welcome them, at the same time advocating for others that they left at the very camps. So this is what I have been doing, and this is who I am. I'm married with 4 children. I live in Pennsylvania, specifically in Philadelphia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sackor, for that brief background explanation. I want us to know you are the fierce advocates for refugees in the United States, and I believe you are partnering with other refugees organizations across the world. So I'd like to understand, what are some of your biggest challenges that you face in this role? How do you navigate your way through this process?
That's a very good question, Mr. Sharif. Well, one of my former professors used to tell me that success comes with can and cannot. So the work that we're doing here as refugee advocates, my advocacy organization is called Refugee Congress. I joined in this organization back in 2012. It was created 2011. To mark the 50th anniversary of the creation of United Nations Refugee Agency. And, just to give you a little background. So uh, during that event in Washington, D.C., that brought a lot of prominent former refugees that are in the United States, which included at the time Madeleine Albright, the first Secretary of State of the female Secretary of State of the United States, and also a Holocaust survivor as well. So during that time, there was a need. There was a need to organize and create a refugee-led organization that will comprise of refugees around the world that are currently in the United States to fight for them. Yes, we do have a lot of partners. We're here in the United States, more than 30, refugee organizations, and abroad. We also partner with the United Nations Refugee Agency, Friends for UNHCR, Friends for Refugees in the United States. Our work is very, very challenging because the education is lacking in the local communities. Many people think that the refugees are undocumented immigrants, and even our lawmakers, many of them that are formulating laws are not aware of who refugees are and where they came from, how they became refugees, but not understanding those basic facts about refugees make our work even more complicated because our presence in the country is completely misconstrued. Some refer to us as runaway terrorists. Some call us fundamentalists and all kinds of names. So going to various communities to educate them who we are and the impact that we've had in our various societies, economic, educational, and you name them. So we'll begin to at least enumerate those benefits that the refugee program has brought into this country. But in order for it to reach there, it requires a lot of perseverance, resilience, and you just have to keep your head above. You'll be hit with a lot of insulting words. Some people will write, on the walls, "Go back to your homes. You don't belong here." But we don't give up. We lobby we lobby with the lawmakers to make sure that pro-immigration and pro-refugee policies are promulgated. So yeah, it's not easy, but we do everything we can, at least to make sure that the same opportunity that was given to us is also extended to other people around the world.
If you are just joining us, today's video is probably sponsored by Magnite clothing brand. If you are living in Europe or in any part of the world and you need an African clothing, you can simply check them up on their Instagram page. The link is in the description of this video. Thank you very much, Mr. Sackor, for that explanation. I want us to look at some of the challenges and barriers that refugees face, especially in the United States. What are some of those challenges, and how do you think collectively with your organization and other refugee organizations can work together along with the United States government to be able to alleviate or dismantle some of those systemic structure that stops a lot of refugees from participating either in a civic or in a social process or in a holistic integration process in the United States?
Yeah, there are a couple of challenges and barriers. Paramount of which is sometimes a linguistic barrier. As you know, currently many of refugees are coming from Ukraine, from the Congo, Somalia, Sudan, and other war-torn countries. So, linguistic and cultural barriers, some of the key, challenges for refugees. So, for us as an organization, many of the things that we do is just to explain to our newly arrived refugees what it means to be, refugee in a completely different country where the cultures are diametrically opposite to each other. So we explain our stories. How did we navigate through all of these intricate system? We also serve as mentors for the newly arrived refugees. How do you obtain medical benefit? How do you go about acquiring jobs? How do you enroll in English as a second language institutions? How do you get to the mosque? How do you get to the churches? How do you go to your synagogues? What are some of the things that you need to avoid? So these are things that we do. We organize a little workshops for them, and sometimes I go to the airport and also work with our refugee agencies, those agencies that resettle our fellow refugees from around the world. I go and speak to them. They'll give me like an hour to welcome them as the national chair for the advocacy group, and also the honorary delegate for the Refugee Congress in the state of Pennsylvania. So I will go to refugees and speak to them. So those are the two key, challenges. And many of the people become, again, men, especially the women. Many women come to the country. They're not educated. So we have to at least look for adult literacy program for them, and for those that are not, that are very very hard because of their age, very hard at least to acquire new skills. We find a way for them get to other institutions that can help them out. So again, to come back to your question, linguistic and cultural barriers are the two key that we run into as new refugees. And for us, like I said, we explain our stories, how we fought our way through, how we got to where we are today, and share some of those, lived experiences with them.
All right. If you are just joining us, and I want you to please support this YouTube channel. If you want to see better studio, if you want to see better podcasts, if you want to see more guests coming on this platform, I want you to please subscribe, like, share, as well as you can make recommendation to us about individuals that are doing remarkable works in their various countries, especially in terms of youth development, in advocacy, in politics, in entrepreneurship. You can always recommend them to us. We will try our best to bring them to this platform to discuss the critical roles that they are playing in their various countries. Mr. Sackor, thank you very much. In your role or in your experience, accountability plays an important role. And how do you think this helps in resettling refugees across the United States? And how do you ensure that other organizations that are working with your organization or partner organizations and government programs that are directed for refugees are meant to reach to the full or to the people that's supposed to actually receive all of those benefits and packages?
Well, Sharif, thank you so much. Accountability in everything that you do, even in terms of your relationship with your family, with your friends, for everything that you do in life, accountability is very, very essential. It's very critical. I have seen through my interaction with federal and state elected officials, and who had confided in me that there are some organizations who have ceased to operate because of lack of accountability, because they are not, providing the services that they said they were providing. And when the funds are given to them, the funds, end up, in different programs or in different hands. We need to be accountable to our partners, whatever we are doing. In our case, I mean, we do have some funders. One of the main funders, people that are providing some money for our low activity advocacy work. But at the end of the quarter, we have to make a report to them what we did, and we have a set metrics, but we have to report those metrics. How many people that we reached out to? How many people did we resettle through our advocacy? If the government I proposed 75,000 or 200,000 that'll be that'll be resettled into the United States. Sometimes they fall short, and as government changes, priorities as well change. So we, as refugee-led organizations, will have to be lobbying with our elected officials as we get this funding to travel to various states, travel to Washington D.C., and then we have to report through our advocacy. How many did we help to be in the United States? How many did we help through the resettlement agencies to help them get jobs? How many did we help through the help of our resettlement agencies to get their medical benefit, to also help them uh, resettle other family members that were left in the various camps? So that's part of the accountability, because you cannot remain mute uh, when you receive a program funding and you don't give them what you have done with those fundings. It drives partners away, it drives funding away, and that also affects our organizations, because sometimes people tend to generalize when it comes to those kinds of negative behavior on the parts of organization, lack of accountability. So it's very, very important, whether you are in the United States or you are outside of the United States, whether you are in Europe, whether you're in Africa, wherever you are, make sure that you are accountable to the people that you serve, and also to your partners and to your funders as well. Very important.
And but before I come to the next question, I'd like to ask everyone to please support this channel. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel, as well as you can make recommendations to us about individuals that are doing remarkable work in their various countries. We will try our best to bring them to this platform. This video is proudly sponsored by Magnite Clothing Brand. If you want to wear similar African clothing like the one I'm wearing in this video, you can simply check them up on their Instagram page. The link is in the description of this video. Mr. Sackor, I want us to go to another perspective of your journey, which is your participation in the recent election in the United States. So we'd like to understand, what lessons did you learn from that experience, and what advice can you give to other people who wants to, especially from the refugee background, who wants to participate in a political process in wherever countries they are? And what advice will you also be able to give to other African countries that are struggling to cope with democracy?
Thank you so much. First of all, I want to tell your listener audience that not only did I help campaign for my candidate. I'm a Democrat. I campaigned for VP Harris, and but I was also fortunate to be part of the process. I still represent the candidate, even though that did not work. Not every time that you try something for the first time works. So hopefully, I plan on trying another time again. So what I want to say here is that it's very important where you are to be civically engaged. As long as you are eligible to exercise your right, do not sit on that right. You have to exercise it, because if you do not, you will definitely regret it one day and begin to blame yourself, to say, I wish I had done this. I started getting involved in American politics back in 2004. And in 2008, when I became a citizen, that was the first time I voted. So it's very, very hard. And I do understand, especially for refugees, understand that many of these refugees came from diverse backgrounds. Some were wrongly persecuted because of their political opinions in their countries. Some were identified as supporters of certain political parties in their very countries, which led to their chasing from their countries. So, with those bad memories, people tend to distance themselves from electioneering processes in those countries, because they do not want to relive what they experience in their countries of origin. From speaking to a lot of refugees from Bangladesh, from Congo, and different parts of the world, even Vietnam. So they will tell you the similar story. Hey, the reason why we can participate It's because of XYZ. But what I want to say to all of our friends, whether you're in Europe, whether you are here and there, in a democracy, it's not an easy thing. You are the democracy. If you cannot participate, if everyone sits down supinely and be just spectators, then there will be no democracy. Then that will turn our countries into autocracy or dictatorship. So therefore, we have to muster the courage to say, yes, we the people will have to determine the future direction of our nation, the future direction of our country, how our resources are allocated, okay, how the criminal justice system is reformed. But if we do not take part in that process, then that will affect not only our generation, but generations to come. So what I'm appealing to everyone is that if you live in Europe, you live in Africa, you live in anywhere, do not sit down and say, well, oh no, that they're on something there. Because that's why people, oh yeah, what Mr. Sackor attempt to gain from this one? No, it's not about me. Okay. Alhamdulillah. Today, I have a little piece of work where I can get $1 to feed my family, to do whatever thing I want to do. I'm grateful to God for that. But should I just sit there and be content because the Joe Sackor, is doing a little thing that he can feed himself, he can do whatever thing, and I take my eyes off of the bigger picture of the community? No, it's all about the good of the community. My fellow former refugees and immigrants, wherever you find yourself, and fellow Africans, we need to work together. We need to work together to make sure that our leaders do not take advantage of us, that our leaders recognize that we are their employers. We can fire them at will. We can fire them anytime we feel that they are not meeting our expectations. So let's get involved at all times.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sackor, for that explanation. I want us to go to another aspect. Advocates of migrant or refugees argue that migration or refugee presents global perspective for development. And how do you think our countries can be able to streamline this process so that the migrants or refugees are able to participate in a development process in their host countries, as well as maintaining peace and security in their home countries?
You know, as I said during my intro, this requires education. When I tell you that for the past probably 5 to 10 years, right here in Pennsylvania alone, Pennsylvania, the state of Pennsylvania, I'm talking about the whole of United States. Okay, refugees and immigrants have contributed more than 13 billion US dollars in less than 10 years. 13 billion US dollars into the state economy. So what does that tell you? That refugees and immigrants are not only coming to sit down and extend their hands for free food and stuff like that. No, they're coming over for so many talents, and they're putting those talents to use. In Philadelphia, there's an economic corridor called Woodland Avenue and Emerald Avenue. Almost 85, I can say 80 to 85% of all the vendors or the businesses over there are owned by former refugees and immigrants. Okay, and they're employing local residents. They're all benefiting. I think host countries need to really embrace immigration because it comes with a lot of benefits. I know there are some challenges. Sometimes there may be one or two bad apples that have some ripple effect on all the apples, but generally, host countries tend to benefit, economically, culturally, when they accept refugees in the countries. That's what I will say. I know recently there was a major influx of new migrants through Mexico border and all of these stuff. All right. The United States Constitution provides that these migrants are entitled to due process to asylum process. That is, that they can file in the asylum paperwork, and an immigration judge within that jurisdiction can look into those paperwork and determine whether their fears are founded, and if they're founded, they can remain in the United States. But I strongly believe, as a former refugees, what refugees and immigrants bring into the country is more beneficial for the economy of those host countries.
All right, thank you. I want us to go to another aspect of the discussion, which is your vision. What is your vision in the future? How do you think you can be able to achieve this vision, especially in the era of advocacy for migrants and refugee rights in the United States?
Well, that's a good question. Well, my vision when it comes to the advocacy space, is to make sure that our local population, especially in the United States, the population is more informed about the benefits for refugee program and by extension immigration, and for the United States to allow more refugees and to have a legislation that will, have a bare minimum, like have a legislation that will say every year we will bring not less than 150 or 200,000 people, refugees, into this country. Those whose lives are in jeopardy, to come and give them a second chance, the same way I was given a second chance, and to have more people get into politics, whether in Europe, Canada, Australia, all the immigrants, refugees. Do not sit there as well as a country. You pay the same taxes that the other people are paying. Be actively involved. So the vision here is that let's all come together, I work, and also be appreciative of the people that welcome us. But the vision here is that let's work hard with the policymakers to make sure that there is a legislation, regardless of who comes, which administration is there. But there is a law. There should be a law that says that we cannot fall short of this amount of people that need to be in this country from the refugee camps around the world. America, I'm not talking about countries, but America been a global leader in that area, needs to always show its leadership by embracing that program, even streamline the process and align more people after being vetted.
That was like my second question. You've answered my first questions that I posted, and the next question that I wanted to ask was about the policy. Which policy you think, if you are given a chance, or if you were elected, what policy that you would have advocated for that will be in the interest of the refugees and migrants? But you've already answered the question. I want us to look at what advice can you give to young advocates or emerging advocates that are in the field like you are? What advice can you give them to set themselves apart and be able to make positive impact in their various communities?
Well, my advice for my young and emerging advocates, I want you to be out there, be an empathetic, put yourself in the shoes of other people. Always remember when you were in that situation, you did not even think that you will be where we are in today. And also be, persevering. You will be facing a lot of challenges. People will call you names. Sometimes you will be threatened. Sometimes local population or other people will call your name. They will be threatened with, even if it's not possible, suppose they will compulsory repatriation against your own will, even though you didn't break into something. But those are just scare tactics. But as advocate, it's got to be brave. You are not going into this because you want to gain popularity, and you are not going into this space because you want to get more money. No, it's quite to the contrary. Okay, to be a strong advocate, you have to give everything that you have. You will use your own money. You will use every God-given skills into it. Sometimes even the quality time, taking up some of the quality time that you have to spend with your family, because you believe in the cause, and that cause is dear to you. This is what triggers people's ambition and inspiration to do what they want to do, because they believe in the cause. So my advice to you: get out there, even if it is getting the every kid's free meal, regardless of your economic social status, or talking about improving the lives of marginalized societies and advocating for them. So whatever you think that is of concern to you, you have to stand up for that, not only for yourself, but for the rest of the people. And this is how you will be remembered. Always have at the back of your mind that life is not about an accumulation of wealth, fame, being a minister, being a president, all these stuff. It's all about a legacy. How will people remember you when you go 6 feet on the ground? Think think of a life from that perspective. That human beings, we are extension of one another. We depend on one another. The little step that the little advocacy that you think you're going to be doing will actually help more people down the line. So that's my advice to every emerging and young leaders, young advocates that are coming up. You're not doing it just for yourself, just to be popular, just to be here and there, or just to sit with big names. No, you are doing all of these things.
We are coming to an end of this discussion or this session today. But before I take a leave of the guest, I want you all to please be a supporter of this channel. If you want to see this channel growing, I want you to please like, subscribe, support, share, as well as you can recommend individuals to us that are doing remarkable works in their various countries in the areas of youth development, education, entrepreneurship, politics. We will also try our best to bring them to this platform to discuss the critical roles that they are playing in their various countries in terms of development and democracy. Mr. Sackor, we are almost to an end of the podcast, and I have one more question for you. That is, how do you think refugee voice can be included in policy formulation and in policy implementation? What measure do refugees need to take themselves to in order that they are also included in policy formulation and policy implementation?
Well, that's a very beautiful question. Um, in order to be part of the menu, you have to be at a table where menus are made. So by that I mean, for us as refugees, we need to be deeply involved civically, making sure that we hold our elected officials accountable by going to them with our concerns, making sure that whatever legislation that is being formulated, that the interests of immigrants and refugees is well reflected in those legislations. We cannot do that if we decide to sit idly by or just relax. No, it's not going to work that way. All right. We need to be actively involved. What do I mean? Even if you're a green card holder, that you can catch a vote. You can sign up as volunteers at the polling stations or knocking the doors, making sure that during election seasons you volunteer time, even at 2 or 3 hours. Put your names down. Go through the manifestos of various candidates and see who is more aligned with refugee and immigrant interest. Then you begin to support that. And by aligning yourself with those candidates, then you begin to be part and parcel of that campaign. And by extension, if that candidate wins, definitely, this is the time that you say, here are our list of our policy needs that we would like for you to work with your colleagues to make sure that these interests are propounded. So this is how you get involved, and this is how you participate in the formulation. The other thing is that let's get in politics. Let ourselves be candidates. We throw our hats into the race. So when you are there as refugees and immigrants, you know what you want. You know what what the communities in which you live. You know what they want. So that's very easy. But we have to master that courage. So this is how we be part and parcel of that policy formulation. Okay, so let's begin to think about that. Whether you're in Canada, whether you're in Europe, wherever you are, even Africa. Because if we sit, if we say, well, that person not doing what we want them to do, well, if this is not changing, get there yourself. There's nothing stopping you. People were very surprised. I do humanitarian work. I'm executive director of the Liberia Medical Mission. I do mission trips to Liberia every other year. I take nurses and doctors to go and provide free services. In fact, February we'll be in Liberia, inshallah. So people were surprised that that I took my humanitarian hat off and get into politics. Okay, because I I want to see so many changes. Okay, if my representatives, lawmakers are not looking after those interests, then I have to get there myself to make sure that yes, everyone interest is protected, not one group of people. So we got to get involved and work together collaboratively. should not say, well, hey, this person is from Namibia, or this person from Jamaica, or this person from Canada, or United States, or this person has an accent. If the person has some of the brightest ideas, and we know that this person can better represent and has some great ideas for the community, yeah, let's support that person.
Mr. Sackor, thank you very much for that explanation. Before we take a leave of you, someone just asked a question that you are a person who, like you rightly stated, you are evolving to humanitarian services as well as, and you shift position, becoming a politician, taking part in the election in the United States. Someone was asking how you listen to so many voices, especially from the refugees communities. It's a which of the story from, or which story actually, whenever you think about the person's story, it makes you to continue to do the work you are doing, keep moving forward, because you don't want to let marginalized communities down.
I lived as refugee in Zerikore, and also I'm a former refugee from Liberia. I work with refugees in those countries, and I was a refugee myself. I know what I endured, the hardship that I endured, and I saw other people, how people were uprooted from their very homes, and they became unintentionally beggars in other countries. There are people with a huge talent that were set in those refugee camps, but they don't have the means, they don't have the resources and stuff like that. Well, having lived and having experienced those life events, every time I want to say it, I begin to think back to say, there are people out there that need to be given a second chance. There are people out there, if given the necessary chances and resources, they can impact other people's lives as well. So with that in mind, this is why I do what I do. If you help one person, and that person intend to help another person, and this is how we will gradually change the world for the better. So yes, my past experience actually inspire me all the time to do what I do, and my interaction during the discharge of my advocacy work keep inspiring me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sackor. We've come to an end of the show today. But before I take a leave of you, I also want to encourage everybody to support my channel, like, subscribe, share with your friends and family members, as well as recommend individuals to us that are doing remarkable work in their various countries. We will try our best to bring them to this platform. Today's video is probably sponsored by Magnite Clothing Brand. If you are living in Europe or in any part of the world and you need an African clothing, you can simply check them up on their Instagram page. The link is in the description of this video. Mr. Sackor, is there any final message for the audience before we take a leave of you?
Well, it's been an honor for me, Mr. Sharif. Like I said, let's support one another. Let's support, this unpopular opinion channel. I think to see a young man like you taking off your busy schedule to kind of get various opinions about life and how people live in different parts of the world and how they're contributing. That's remarkable. That's highly commendable. So, to all our listening audience, I want to say a big thank you. Um, Continue to do what you're doing. Let's support one another, and let's make sure that we have some impact on our communities wherever you live. Do not say, well, this is a white, this is a black, this is an Indian. We're all the same. When you're doing your advocacy work, if you want to take among group of people, marginalized people, and advocate for them because of their status, yes, please do that. Let's continue to do what we are doing. It has been a pleasure, and I wish all of you a blessed weekend. I hope this not going to be the last. We'll continue the conversation, and God's willing, when I reach to Liberia in February, hopefully we can talk from there again to see what we're doing in Liberia for the underprivileged communities in that country. On that note, I want to say thank you, and God bless.
All right, Mr. Sackor, thank you very much for being here. It's been an honor to have you on this podcast for sharing your experience, your stories, and some of the things that you've done are absolutely remarkable. We want to say thank you. And we also encourage you to continue doing the work we are doing for the marginalized communities in Liberia, in the United States. We are very proud of you, and we're looking forward to having more of these conversations with you in the future as well. And until we meet again, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.